Karen Flowers was the kind of woman who'd call the cops on a squirrel for loitering. Her reign as HOA president had turned our quiet cul-de-sac into a battlefield of petty fines and sanctimonious glares. On that muggy August evening, the air thick with the scent of cut grass and impending doom, Karen stood in my backyard, her sausage fingers jabbing at my gun's safe like it owed her money. She'd been snooping again, claiming my safe violated some obscure HOA rule she'd probably invented over her third glass of Chardonnay. "Open it, Jake," she bellowed, her voice a grating mix of entitlement and cheap perfume. "I know you're hiding something illegal in there." Her chins wobbled as she pointed at the steel box, her eyes gleaming with the kind of righteous fury only a self-appointed neighborhood czar could muster. I leaned against my porch railing, arms crossed, trying not to laugh at the absurdity of it all. Karen, in her neon-pink tracksuit, was a caricature of suburban tyranny, and yet here she was, turning my Saturday into a circus. The trouble started when Karen, in her infinite wisdom, decided my gun safe locked, bolted, and perfectly legal was a community safety hazard. She'd been on a crusade since I moved in, a 28-year-old carpenter who dared to park his truck 1 inch over her invisible property line. That morning, she'd stormed over with a clipboard, citing anonymous complaints about my safe's placement near the fence. By noon, she'd escalated to banging on my door, demanding access. When I refused, she did what Karens do best. She called 911. "This is an emergency," she'd screeched into her phone, loud enough for the whole block to hear. "There's a dangerous weapon stash in my neighbor's yard." I could have told her the safe held nothing but my hunting rifle and a few boxes of ammo, all registered and legal. But Karen didn't want facts. She wanted control. She hung up, smirking, as if she'd just won the lottery. What she didn't know was that her little power trip was about to blow up in her face. The first cop arrived 10 minutes later, a lanky rookie named Officer Daniels, who looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. He stood awkwardly by my gate, notepad in hand, while Karen launched into a tirade about suspicious activity and potential threats to the children. I explained calmly. The safe was mine, locked, and compliant with state law. Daniels nodded, clearly unimpressed by Karen's theatrics, but then his radio crackled. "Unit 12, stand by. ATF dispatched for possible unregistered firearms." Karen's smug grin faltered. "ATF," she squeaked, her voice suddenly small. I raised an eyebrow, suppressing a chuckle. Apparently, her 911 call, laced with exaggerated claims of a weapon stash, had tripped a federal wire. The Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives doesn't mess around when you scream illegal guns in a quiet suburb. Karen's crusade was about to become a federal incident. By the time the ATF van rolled up, neighbors were peeking from their windows, drawn by the flashing lights and Karen's increasingly shrill protests. 2 agents, stern-faced and clad in tactical vests, stepped out, their badges gleaming under the streetlights. The lead agent, a no-nonsense woman named Agent Carter, zeroed in on Karen. "Ma'am, you reported a cache of illegal firearms. Where are they?" Karen sputtered, her face reddening as she pointed at my safe. "Right there. He's hiding something. I know it." Carter's eyes flicked to me, then back to Karen. "You understand that false reports to federal authorities carry penalties, right?" Karen's mouth opened and closed like a fish out of water. For the first time, she looked genuinely scared. I unlocked the safe under Carter's supervision, revealing exactly what I'd said. 1 rifle, 2 boxes of ammo, and a stack of paperwork proving everything was legal. Carter's partner, Agent Ruiz, checked the serial numbers, then turned to Karen. "This is standard, ma'am. Why did you call this in?" Karen's bravado crumbled. She mumbled something about HOA rules and community safety, but the agents weren't buying it. Neither were the neighbors, who'd now gathered on the sidewalk, whispering and shaking their heads. Mrs. Nguyen, the retired librarian who lived next door, stepped forward, her voice trembling but firm. "Karen's been harassing everyone for years. She fined me for planting roses without permission. She needs to stop." A murmur of agreement rippled through the crowd. Karen's eyes darted around, searching for an ally, but found none. Her reign of terror was unraveling, and she knew it. Carter handed me back my paperwork, her tone clipped. "You're clear, Mr. Larson. We'll need to speak with Ms. Flowers about her report." Karen's face went from red to ghostly white as the agents led her to their van for questioning. Daniels, the rookie cop, stayed behind to take statements from the neighbors, who were now eagerly spilling years of grievances. Karen had fined Mr. Patel for his kid's basketball hoop, threatened to tow Mrs. Garcia's car for unauthorized parking, and even reported the Thompsons' dog for barking too loudly. The cul-de-sac had had enough. As the ATF van pulled away, Karen's silhouette slumped in the back seat, her usual swagger replaced by defeat. I almost felt sorry for her almost. But then I remembered the months of her petty tyranny, the endless HOA letters, the way she'd sneered at anyone who dared defy her. This wasn't just about my gun safe. It was about a woman who'd built her identity on bullying others, only to trip over her own ego. The next morning, the neighborhood buzzed with gossip. Karen had been released with a warning, but the damage was done. The HOA board called an emergency meeting, and by evening, Karen was out as president. Mrs. Nguyen took her place, promising a kinder, fairer community. Karen's house went quiet, her blinds drawn, her pink tracksuit nowhere in sight. Some said she was planning to move. Others hoped she'd learned her lesson. I wasn't holding my breath. Weeks later, I found a note slipped under my door. It was from Karen, scrawled in her loopy handwriting. "I'm sorry. I was wrong." I stared at it for a long time, wondering if she meant it or if it was just another ploy. People like Karen don't change overnight, but maybe, just maybe, the sting of her own consequences had cracked her armor. I tucked the note away, not ready to forgive but willing to move on. The cul-de-sac felt lighter after that. Kids played basketball again, roses bloomed in Mrs. Nguyen's yard, and the Thompsons' dog barked without fear of a fine. Karen's fall wasn't just a spectacle. It was a reminder that power, when wielded without compassion, eventually crumbles. We'd all been pushed around too long. But in the end, the neighborhood won not with shouting or threats, but with truth and a locked gun safe that Karen couldn't crack. The end.